What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. Today, we're going to be looking at a piece by the artist Surea.i Labs. He is actually a digital artist working primarily in the medium of AI generative art. He has a really clear passion for disco diffusion, and he also had access to the early stages of the Midjourney AI art program. In this episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about center emphasis. We're going to talk about this frame boundary and kind of these layers that feel like we have to move through to get deeper within the work. And then we're also going to talk about the light and magic of the divine. So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this piece, you're met with quite an energetic spatial composition. This feels like it's set on mostly a near symmetrical backing, as if you look in the greater context of form, of course you have this here leading up, and then you have the main circle front facing, and then you have the frame around it. So that really feels near symmetrical, and it gives a great deal of harmony in its initial introduction. And then yet there's also this juxtaposition because the visual energy of the work is quite intense, and we see that the it accents itself through this iridescent light on dark contrast. This, of course, is that darker backing that really allows that neutral emphasis, or that neutral backing to allow the emphasis of this iridescent and incredibly colorful bubble here in the middle. So we see this bubble, and there appears to be some type of statue far within it. There is this kind of holographic or shimmering effect, and the soapy consistency of the bubble and the kind of fluid form also mimics the title of the work, which is Soap Opera 1. So you can definitely see that here. There's kind of this, that iridescent, incredibly diverse color palette that comes from so many different colors of light within bubbles. So I think that's really important to note whenever we're taking a look at this work. The colors are just intense. You have this kind of fluorescent magenta here, and then that morphs into that lighter blue, some darker blues, and then those morph into some emeralds, some yellows, and just some incredible tones within this work here. That really captures your attention and it just draws you into the center region of the spatial composition. And so we see it feels like there's these layers to get within the piece. So first, you're starting in the frame, we're looking at it face on, and then you can move past the frame into the scene. But yet again, you have to move into the bubble to finally reach that statue scene that we're looking far in the center. So there's this sense where almost like candid viewers viewing this from a really unique perspective. And I think that's really interesting to note whenever taking a look at this work, because it's this sense of it feels like we're disconnected from the inner scene at hand, but at the same time, that really makes us want to look in deeper, and it almost invites us far within the spatial composition. So that really makes the viewer kind of interact with the piece deeper, and I think that's important to note. So we see a really, really good example of, say, light and magic within this work. Kind of iridescent light is almost always associated with the light of the divine or some type of magical quality there. And we see even like bubbles themselves, say during childhood, we see them as quite magic because their form is fluid. They kind of, it's not a set circle. Bubbles often like morph and flow and kind of wave in the air. So bubbles have a really kind of magical quality to them, whether it's whenever the light hits them and you get these incredible holographic and incredibly vivid tones, or whether it's the fluid form that kind of just morphs and flows. So even nowadays, I mean, bubbles are still pretty magic if you consider how they move and how they shape and the colors that arise for them. It's almost like a fluid gemstone that's kind of rising like a balloon in the air. So that's also pretty interesting to note. We see an example of light and magic from that quite clearly. And so this piece was generated by, it's the Midjourney art program. So that is one of the ones, I believe it was inspired by Dali. I'm not 100% sure on that though. But the original artist, Surea Labs, actually got access early on as a Midjourney member. So I got a little quote from him. We're going to look at that real quick. So, quote, "This is a piece I created early on in my time as a Midjourney member. It is primarily AI generated using the prompt, quote, a statue inside of a holographic bubble by Martin Johnson Heed. I did some editing in Procreate to straighten the frame and round out the bubble, plus some other minor cosmetic fixes." So we see it creates a statue inside of a holographic bubble, but then it also puts it in the style of Martin Johnson Heed. So that's really interesting to note because it asks for say, substance, but then it also requests style in the prompt as well. And we see the result of that here. You know, I believe Martin Johnson Heat is known for his landscape paintings. I believe, not 100% sure, but I believe that is true. We can kind of see those landscape influences deep within the spatial composition. So yeah, he gave the Midjourney program just the prompt, quote, "a statue inside of a holographic bubble" by Martin Johnson Heat, and that's what we got. So this is also a mixed media piece, so that's also important to note, because he said he did some editing in Procreate to straighten the frame and round out the bubble and other minor cosmetic fixes. So we see it is AI generative then mixed with Procreate. So at that point, we're getting this kind of mixed media feel here. So that's also really important to note. You know, really magical work, really draws us in, just an incredible tones coming from this artist here. So now I wanted to take a look. So this is actually the first piece in a collection of 6. So I wanted to show the full collection to date and see what we can learn from the soap opera series. Cool. I'm going to take a closer look and see what we can learn. All right, so starting off here, we're looking at Soap Opera 1 in the collection of 6. So we really see those kind of magentic tones and a statue within a landscape scene there. Looking here at number 2, I believe it's the only one that actually has multiple bubbles there. So that's really interesting to note. Kind of a darker scene there. We have some darker blues, but those really pull you in. Also some magentic tones there, a little bit more rare. Taking a look at number 3, it looks like it might be some type of reef underwater, although it's hard to say for sure. Definitely a natural scene there. And then we see what appear to be some very small statuaries here at the base. So that's Soap Opera 3. Looking at Soap Opera 4, oh, that incredible emerald tone here really pulls you in, and we also have some dark blues there. That is also set, instead of it being kind of a neutral landscape in the background, we have this kind of natural atmosphere there. So that's also really important to note whenever we're taking a look at the work. There we are. All right, take a look at number 4. Really, really diverse color here in the middle. It almost looks like some type of magic marble. That's just what I think whenever I look at this work. We also see some type of landscape, it appears to be in the background as well. Also some more natural scenes. And finally, taking a look at Soap Opera number 6. Looks like it's underwater here, though it's hard to say for sure. Some really, really cool tones. Also some shrubbery here. So there is that kind of evolution of introducing a natural landscape to the backing there. Of course, we see it more prevalent in Soap Opera 4, but just some incredible pieces coming from this collection. Surea Labs does an incredible work on that mixed media, and it's clear that the artist looks very closely to create as diverse and complex visual experience as possible, but still, you know, keeping that sense of light and magic within the work. So hope you guys enjoyed. We're going to go back to the original piece real quick. Again, this is Soap Opera 1. So we talked a little bit about this light and magic. We talked about the AI generative prompt of Midjourney. And then we also talked about, say, center emphasis and these layers to get within the piece that comes from the frame there. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Go check out some of Surreal Lab's other works. He's doing a bunch of good work, as you can see. Hope you guys enjoyed. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.